That's EU, but we still got 2 more sets of NA. We're going to start it off. Let's start. What do you want to start with here, Taco? You want to do eUnited versus Vigilant? Let's take a look at the standings first, actually. That way, we can at least see where these teams are staying before they go into their games today. Trifecta sitting in that 4th spot. They control their own destiny here. That's the biggest takeaway, is that they, as long as Trifecta takes care of business, if they win out, they're in the top 4.
Well, I mean, there's still a little bit of a spoiler aspect to be played, though, by Allegiance here at the end of the day. It's going to rely pretty heavily, because this is not only an important set for Trifecta to try and earn some points, but ALG, they're looking like relegations is closer and closer. They're like barely on the cusp of escaping death from rallies, and it just seems like this is such a formidable opponent to be up against when you're pretty much on the line already.
Yeah, Allegiance is in trouble to get relegated, no doubt about it. They're tied at 7th, or they're tied in 7th, that's correct, with 2 points all the way at the bottom of the league, and up against Trifecta, who have underperformed so far in the fall split. I think they'd say that themselves, but have that potential to be a top team in the world, not only just North America. Allegiance basically needs to at least get 1 point here if they want to keep the dream of coming out of relegations alive. Do you think they can do it?
I really feel as though this is going to be an incredibly shaky matchup, because the problem with ALG is they'll start off great in game number 1, but then something just doesn't go right. Something just always messes up for ALG, whether it's a bad team fight, a bad pick, and it just ultimately falls apart. Everything starts to crumble, and then it's just, they lose. Like, it's just a flat-out loss. But meanwhile, on the other end, you've got Trifecta, where we saw a lot of potential from this team, I think, at DreamHack, and I don't think we've really seen the same Trifecta since that moment. It's like something sparked to life in Trifecta at LAN, and then they never really were able to revive it during the online portion.
Well, we'll have to see if they can do it against Allegiance today, and this is a good opportunity for them to get that ball rolling. They do have a matchup on Sunday as well, but this is the one where you expect for them to get 3 points, or at least 1. You got a prediction for us here? Do you think Allegiance is going to be down the rabbit hole?
I feel as though this is going to be Trifecta's 2-0, and ALG are going to stay in hot water pending on how things go versus Noble this weekend.
We'll have to wait and see with that. eUnited versus Vigilant, the other matchup in North America. eUnited still undefeated. Obey coming in undefeated. They lose that record. But against Team Vigilant, I think there's some potential for the same thing to happen to eUnited here. This is a squad that is historically underrated in their short time during the SPL, but PainDeViande, being the captain, always has his teams be sort of underrated. And Vigilant is still in a good spot here. They're in 5th place right now. They've got 5 points. They can put a lot of pressure on the Trifecta if they can come away with a 2-0.
But the likelihood of Vigilant walking away with a 2-0 here, that is the other part of the story. I don't really see that as being possible. Split, maybe, because I could see eUnited kind of losing a little bit of that focus, knowing they're already qualified through. That can kind of put teams into that comfort level where they're not super concerned about maybe losing a game. I don't really see eUnited dropping 2, though.
Well, eUnited, they can put themselves in a great spot to secure top seed. They're already at least top 2 in North America. Them and Luminosity face off on Sunday to figure out who that top seed is going to be. But if eUnited 2-0 here, then that means they only need to split with Luminosity in order to secure that top seed. What do you think, Taco? You think it's 1-1 or eUnited taking the 2-0?
I'd still have to favor eUnited for that 2-0.
All right, fair enough. That's it for the desk, at least during the mid portion. We'll see you after the last 2 NA sets. Throw it over to the casters. It's Young Link and Anatoly.
Thank you, Aggro. I am John Fincher, special guest caster. I got Anatoly here with me, and we got a real big set here between Vigilant and eUnited.
That's true. We did see earlier on Obey taking an early loss here, their first one of the fall split. Can eUnited avoid the same fate?
That's right. They're the only undefeated team remaining right now, so they've got a lot to try and live up to. Not just that, Toly, but if they can get this 2-0 in this set, they put a lot of pressure on LG for their next matchup as well.
That's true. Both of these two teams between LG and eUnited are very close in the standings. They're basically guaranteed in Super Regionals here. I think they're both guaranteed at least top 2, but regardless, there's still that battle for the first seed.
That's right. That's what eUnited's going to be looking for. They want to make sure they're the ones going up against the lower-seeded team. And I think that's a little bit more important here in North America, as we do have those picks and bans ready for you.
That's true. eUnited needs to be very mindful about whatever Vigilant can really throw at them. There's going to be a lot of mind games, I think, in this matchup, specifically from this dual lane here. I think that Vigilant is going to be coming out firing.
And we got to see how important picks and bans are earlier today in that set with Obey Alliance that we were just talking about up against Elevate. I think, as Ryan was pointed out, that's a big part of why they won. They got exactly what they wanted. So let's see if Vigilant and eUnited, as we see some pretty meta bans here coming out, see if anyone gives up anything too important.
A lot of aggressive bans from eUnited, or at least the front line between the Ganesh and the Nemesis. This leads me to believe that eUnited is more worried about probably playing defensive this game.
And I'm seeing the Hu Yi ban come out here for Vigilant. It's not something that we see a whole lot. I mean, Hu Yi, I think, is one of the top hunters right now, if not the top hunter, but he doesn't always get banned. What's this one about here?
I think it's just more about providing a good amount of control here in the dual lane, making sure that those Suns is not going to be providing too much of disruption around that Gold Fury fight.
And we know PandaCat can pilot it extremely well, too, so just something that you want to take out of his hands. But eUnited decide to pick up that Terra, so likely PolarBearMike on it, but we've seen some Terra flex.
That's true. You could run Terra in the solo lane. It's not out of this world here. That is a possibility, and despite the nerf here from that dash combination onto the Monolith, going from a root to a slow, it's still a good goddess. You can use that ultimate globally to get the free casting and the mobility.
And I'm a little scared here. This Vigilant comp has a lot of control in it. We've seen Thoth and his stuns in particular coming up really big for teams. The knock-up from Jing and then Artio, we know it feels like every ability she has does some kind of control.
Pretty good balanced composition thus far from both of these teams. You got a good front line from eUnited, then you have a good front and back line from Vigilance here. The Jing Thoth combination is a good amount of range here that they're going to be leaning on with how aggressive Artios tend to be.
And Vigilant recognize that they already got their big name mid laner, so go ahead and ban out Raijin and Soul. eUnited pick up Chronos, who is still a bit of a flex, could be mid, could be ADC, but that might be because of some of that pressure Vigilant put out with those bans.
At the end of the day, I'm still expecting this Chronos to fall in the mid lane. A lot of hunters and their mid counterparts will still start in the mid lane just to get the pressure, just to look for invade potentially, or even transition into those elementals.
And I like this Anhur getting locked in for eUnited, a strong pick. We say a lot that Anhur is very early game, but I mean, that pillar doesn't stop being effective late game, and he doesn't stop putting out tons of damage.
The slow is real, honestly. As you're leveling that ability, it just feels like you're actually in quicksand, that you can't move, that you just like stepped on a fly trap, honestly, at that point. But Anhur can play offensively, defensively. His kit is very well balanced.
I agree, and talking about balance, I think Thor is sort of the picture of that, coming from the jungle role. That was the pick that got picked out for Vigilant, and that'll be what they're taking into the jungle role, likely going to be for Grave. Is Grave still the jungler form there?
It's going to be in Grave indeed here, I believe. Actually, it's going to be Mirage stepping in this time around on the Thor. A really good global god to try to contest Screammmmm, playing this Ratatoskr that's just been on fire lately. All of eUnited, honestly, has been on fire.
That's right. I believe we saw recently Grave was saying, he was stepping away, so that's no big deal. Now we got Mirage in here for him, so we know that Vigilant are capable of still playing very, very well behind PainDeViande. What he does so well is unify for sometimes like he feels like ranked all-stars and get them to play at a really high level, even in the SPL.
He has a good eye for talent, that's for sure. He's been around the block since beta, even probably since before that point as well, probably during alpha, and he's been able to lead teams to victory over and over again. Hasn't had that World Championship title, but heading into second place during Season 2 wasn't the worst thing in the world for starting up a nice path.
That's right. I mean, he was right there once before, so we know Pain is the kind of player, the kind of leader in particular, who can get his players to that level. And that's a bit of what we're seeing. PandaCat and PolarBearMike over there on that left-hand side, they're starting off together, but we see DayToRemeber starting alone, and that does leave Pain free to roam around the map a little bit more on this aggressive Xing Chen.
A little history lesson, PandaCat and PainDeViande used to be laning partners during Legion of Carrots way back in the day.
Yeah, that's right. So that's another thing that if they were, when they end up fighting up against each other, they might know a little bit more about each other's tendencies. It has been a while since then, though, so, these players have evolved, but sometimes you fall back on that muscle memory. Could potentially just be something where, maybe he likes you a little bit more right than left.
Also playing on that other team, their enemy, they are able to really get into each other's heads here. All of SPL players, even if they're not necessarily on the same team, DayToRemeber has been making such a statement here in the SPL. He's been around in the Challenger scene and the AVGL scene for quite a while, but now, in his short time in the SPL, he's quickly evolved to a top-tier hunter.
And Benji and Screammmmm have a chance to invade as the blue and speed are still up for Vigilant right now on that solo lane side of the map. But PainDeViande's hero, Akillathehun, even trying to use that glyph over the wall to get a stun. That could have been big onto Benji if that had hit. Instead, they're going to quote-unquote settle for these fire elementals here as Benji wants to try and have something to say.
And I love what the eUnited are doing here in the solo lane. They're just delaying MandoWarrior from picking up his own blue buff. And something that Artio really needs, especially in the solo lane, is mana to use those abilities, trying to be spam-oriented here. Mirage still sitting at level 2, trying to get his blue buff, but it's Benji being a nuisance.
Benji is being real aggressive. There's a lot of Vigilant players around who are instead focusing, it looks like, on trying to clear up those buffs rather than fighting it out with them. But Benji is a tanky guy, and he's happy to back off.
And what Benji was doing there was delaying for eUnited's Venenu in the mid lane, freezing the lane there, trying to deny some experience to Akillathehun. That's such a small play that really goes a long way.
And that's something that we see from those high-level players. When those minions end up killing each other and you just take those last hits, that's golden experience that you're not able to take while your opponent still gets the full benefit of it as if they'd cleared the wave. So a lot of the times you'll see that balance between trying to force them under the wave right away or just let them die there in the middle. And that's what we saw from Venenu.
It's all a race to level 5, whether you're in the mid lane or in the dual lane hunter battle. You're trying to get that level 5 first and make a play happen. There's a lot of safety net for Venenu with the rewind, whereas Akillathehun needs to find the right target for the final judgment. A lot of sharing of experience between Vigilant. This is why every single member from eUnited is basically on top.
And we didn't talk about this yet, but MandoWarrior and PainDeViande did a good job showing their flex abilities in this game. PainDeViande's going with Xing, MandoWarrior going with the Artio. That could have easily been flipped, and we saw Xing in the solo and PainDeViande taking the Artio in the regular support role. So that's one more thing you have to consider when you're going up against this team, is just how flex those two can play.
And I like this this mindset from Vigilant to make that switch happen, because we saw what Fusify was not able to do out of the support role playing the Artio in his respective game. He was just shut down time in and time out. Now, if you're allowing MandoWarrior to safely farm in that solo lane, he'll transition out of the solo lane with more items, more levels, and not as many deaths as Fusify.
And Xing's an aggressive Guardian too, so he brings a lot of early kind of burst you might not even expect, a lot of control into those engagements just with that pancake flip, the up-down, which can reach into place afterwards. So very strong pressure that he'll be able to have. It's just how does Pain want to exhibit it, as really it's united with all the pressure on the solo lane side. PainDeViande gets the spin off, and the ult comes out from Akillathehun to follow it up.
Not able to hit the anvil of Dawn as Mirage is forced to escape. Scream into the branch is going to land on. No, he's going to miss PainDeViande there, unfortunately for him, but not going to give up the chase. Wanting to contest just these back left harpies, but the rest of his team is going to back off. Scream tried to steal it from a distance.
So a lot of ultimates committed without any blood being spilled over there on that dual lane side of the map. Everyone happened just to go back to parity. And again, you pointed out how eUnited, everyone on their team had at least established an experience lead. We even see that a little bit in the gold lead. Without any kills, they're up about 1,000, 1,100 or so gold.
There's not that many objectives taken. It's all just the neutral camps between the mid harpies, the elementals, and the oracles. If your team is able to consecutively steal away these neutral camps, that's how you build an early small lead that you can make a foundation off of.
And this is why I think eUnited are still undefeated right now. Their early game, the way that they're able to split farm and beat you in that early jungle, is really unparalleled, at least over in NA, as the 3-man knockup comes out from Benji, but there's still plenty of follow-up from the rest of Vigilant. Akillathehun's here, but nothing more going to come from it, but Benji is down to half health.
That's such a crucial timing for Benji to use that ultimate. It gives you that CC immunity in a 3-man knockup. Benji was able to steal away the blue and walk away cleanly. Definitely worth it to use that ultimate in that scenario.
And that way make sure that no falls happen over there, no one dies on that side of the map, so Benji's happy, you know, to use it there, knowing that also when he goes into that rage form, he does get, you know, a second rotation of ability, so it's not as if he would be without a big impact that he could have in a team fight if one did break out. But there wasn't much up on the map, so Benji felt comfortable with it. DayToRemeber did back to base, has Ninja Tabby. PandaCat hasn't backed quite yet, still sitting with only Deathstall and the Bumba's Mask. Might even stick around long enough to fully finish out that Devourer's Gauntlets. It's not a bad idea sometimes if you're expecting the laning phase to kind of stagnate and not have much action. Especially if he recognizes that DayToRemeber doesn't go that route. They've chosen to go with those ninja taps. So.
2,300 gold in hand for PandaCat as he backs to base. Will fully finish stacking at. Now, the good and the positives for this idea. You're able to stack up early with the Devo Gauntlets, increasing your physical power and lifesteal. However, you're only having 6% movement speed as the Anhur, and that 18% for DayToRemeber could catch PandaCat slipping.
And it feels like his jump is one of the slower jumps, too. So, overall, he might have a little bit limited mobility up against Jing Wei, who can get around the map real well. But as long as he plays carefully with that positioning, or he has the global ultimate from PolarBearMike as well to sort of make up a little bit of that movement speed he might be lacking. So that might even be a big part of why he feels comfortable going with those Devo gloves.
And now with PandaCat removing his own red buff as the duration expires, DayToRemeber picking it up for himself, could look to play aggressive here despite not being on the same page with the lifesteal. But I love what eUnited are doing in the duel lane. They're not pushing the lane. PandaCat wants to slow this down, get the last hit, start stacking it up, avoid any sort of poke from DayToRemeber.
That seems to be a big global strategy from eUnited, just to freeze the waves. But take a look at the map here so far. That's almost entirely in favor of Vigilant, is that ward coverage as PolarBearMike goes in on the PainDeViande, but recognizing with both members there and healthy, there's no need to fight.
Did you see what happened in the left lane? PandaCat, he missed 2 last hits. That's a huge misplay.
PandaCat just letting some experience and farm get away from him. There is no need for it, but it's something that, it can happen even here at this high level.
Mirage making the rotation happen as MandoWarrior trying to bait Benji in a sticky situation, but it's actually Screammmmm that's going to make this rotation. Benji's the one baiting MandoWarrior.
MandoWarrior's very low, no chance to get off any kind of healing. Screammmmm gets the kill and immediately goes up into the ultimate, I believe to try and counter the ultimate out of Mirage as he went up into the air as well.
This is the one advantage that Ratatoskr has over Thor, the duration that he's able to trust go through the cosmos on those branches. Thor does not have that same luxury.
And now the speed buff coming back up for Vigilant again. Screammmmm won't have his ultimate available if they choose to contest, but it looks like Benji's around. But he looks to be backing off as well. They don't want to try and go in. Oh, they do want to try and go in. Look at this. Venenu's here as well as PolarBearMike, and they're perfectly right on time. Mirage, look how far back he is away from that buff, and Benji zoning him out perfectly. So an excellently executed invade here by eUnited.
The Warrior versus Guardian solo lane matchup always will work out in the early game. 3-level lead for Benji. He's able to make the plays happen, and he's able to just make more of an impact, especially with these 3-on-3, 4-on-4 skirmishes in the jungle.
Especially with that strong kill from Screammmmm, who's looking for another one.
One more hit.
Against Akillathehun, just a little bit away. Wasn't able to stop it. The sprint does come out to try and help Akillathehun get away from now PolarBearMike, who's going aggressive, and it is going to be enough as eUnited don't pick up the kill, but they force him back.
It's exactly right. Even though PBM didn't want to commit to that tier 2 tower dive, he forces Akillathehun to back off so far backwards that he's able to kind of save Screammmmm that tried to dive that tier 1 tower for a little bit, took a little bit of damage from that tower, but at the end of the day, great plays from eUnited as they get that first blood, and they're actually up almost 4,000 gold.
It's really just from how well they're controlling the jungle so far. And we talked about how important it was that he just kind of walked up PolarBearMike and forced Akillathehun back. Also got PainDeViande to use that sprint. That's a relic cooldown that won't be available for them if eUnited look for maybe an invade on this red buff that's coming up, or even look for a fight on the Gold Fury as well. They know they've got that advantage.
Something we didn't talk about too much is there's 2 itemization differences between the mid-mages. Akillathehun, Russian Book of Thoth with 15 stacks, whereas Venenu sold his starter item early just to finish off Book of the Dead and his pen boots. And that's a huge power spike for Chronos, considering he gets that 200 health, he gets the health shield from the magical lifesteal. That's more of a timing to get that rewind off.
And it's gods like this that I really like Book of the Dead on. Venenu, who wants to get that rewind off. Soul, who wants to try and get that extra second to get into the disapparate form. It synergizes so well with the rest of their kit that I'm not surprised to see it here, but I agree, we're going to see a strong early game spike from Akillathehun.
PandaCat feeling very confident now that he has his boots completed, sitting with a Ninja Tabby and 45 stacks of the Devil Gloves, about 32 more than DayToRemeber, and that's enough of a window to be an aggressive bully. We saw how patient PandaCat was when he was freezing the lane earlier on about 3 minutes ago, but now is not the time to freeze the lane. You're an Anhur that's sitting at level 12. It's time to make some plays happen.
And I want to talk a little bit, too, about Benji going with that hardware amulet. Is actually Scream is going up into the air, looking to crash that with PolarBearMike, who's back, waiting on him. The beads come out from Akillathehun, but that's not going to save you from the damage. The drop down from Mirage is good to try and slow down Scream, but Scream's okay. He shrugs it off, and they're heading straight for the Gold Fury.
Terra's Blessing just healing Scream a little bit more. They're a nice, clean, easy pick, and considering it's on a Thoth for a Akillathehun, that final judgment is not a fear factor for eUnited.
Now eUnited shouldn't have too many concerns
Stun
with this.
is
They're
good.
actually going to lock down PainDeViande first. DayToRemeber now in some trouble. He's going to have the sprint come out and have to dash away. Now there really isn't anyone around to slow down eUnited as they take this Gold Fury.
Gold Fury is already very low. DayToRemeber trying to get in position, but it's Scream just being an absolute nuisance, and he's going to find a kill before the ultimate goes off.
DayToRemeber just sticking around a little bit too long trying to get that steal. It would have been difficult. He had his ultimate available. I think that was his plan, maybe to get close enough to try and take it, but Scream doing an excellent job zoning him out. All 4 of those kills are on him.
And this is why eUnited has been such a top-tier North American team recently here in the fall split. They've always been such a strong group of players here, but they haven't been able to really find their footing until recently. But now, the way Scream has been playing with 4 kills all to his name, building into this Void Shield. You thought he was slippery before with Terra's Blessing? Well, now he has more physical defense to follow up.
That Void Shield's scary. I think it's a big part of why we saw Mirage have way less of an impact when he came crashing down on top of Scream a little bit earlier, too. It's just real difficult to try and nail down Ratatoskr with this build that he's tried to go with already. It feels like it's already hard to take him down, so now he'll have a little bit more survivability as the tier 1 in right falls, too. It's been real rough for MandoWarrior.
MandoWarrior can't really get anything going on the right side. He's just been locked it down. That counter bait that Benji did earlier on in this game was just so important here. Finding an early kill onto Artio with Scream getting the credit really helped him get that power boost that he needed to.
And we mentioned it earlier how far ahead eUnited were. Well, after that last fight on the left-hand side, now it's about 6,000 gold that they're up. And you can even see those experience points coming out, too, with how far Scream is ahead of Mirage and how far Benji is ahead of MandoWarrior. Those 2 roles in particular, the solo jungle, are real rough as Scream comes crashing on top of Mirage, does get that stun out, but he's able to teleport to the hammer, but the dash was available. Good stun coming from Akillathehun to keep him going in any further. PainDeViande gets the whirlwind array to steal off a taste for it with a lot of damage.
He's trying to get away. He's trying to buy time for his dash. He's going to get stunned into place. PandaCat's very low. He needs to be very careful, but it's Scream diving the tier 2 tower onto Akillathehun. PBM running away, as does PandaCat. PainDeViande barely escaping into mid, but Benji diving the back.
Now it's MandoWarrior who's in a lot of trouble, and MandoWarrior who falls. Mirage comes in and is able to clean up PandaCat. That's an important kill as Venenu tries to box out Thor. Benji, though, is here to root him in place. The rewind gets off. Scream kills him with the kill of the Hun, and now Mirage is the one who's in a bad situation as Benji gets that one 4 for 1.
PandaCat taking his life for 4 members from Vigilant. I was about to say, it was PandaCat that died first, but then it was 4 consecutive Vigilant members, one by one, dying. And this was the problem at first for eUnited, considering how close the teamfight was to the base of Vigilant. Mirage was able to back safely and then come back into the teamfight with his Anvil of Dawn, but because of how ahead eUnited is experience-wise, their abilities are just hitting so much harder.
And I think that's what happened because PainDeViande did a great job of juking around inside that back harpy circle, and it actually kind of had all of eUnited grouped up right around him. They all got hit by a lot of the same abilities at once, but the damage just wasn't there. That's where we saw that lead come out in favor of eUnited. Now they're up 8-1 in the kills, 8,000 gold, and they've got pressure all over the map.
And just the attention being commanded by Scream. He dove the backline in that last encounter, making all heads from Vigilant turn in that direction. While PandaCat was safe, Venenu was safe, there was no issue there. And that's the issue that Vigilant is going to have to deal with for the rest of the game, the backline penetration between both Scream and Benji.
And look at this, Venenu, recognizing that he's ahead, chooses to go with the Magai's Blessing. He's worried about some of the control that's coming out from Mirage, MandoWarrior, everyone on Vigilant, even Akillathehun with his stun as well. That's going to let him shut down that very first form of RCC and then be able to just keep going with the damage as Benji goes aggressive.
And I like that mindset. Going for a utility Chronos is not unheard of. The time stop is a lot of setup for other abilities. PandaCat PandaCat can do a lot of damage. Screammmmm can certainly do a lot of damage, and that's what Venenu was thinking about, how he can set up his teammates.
Screammmmm is in the air as Akillathehun's beads have already come out. The sprint is ticking for him, but he gets interrupted out of his ultimate. Now it's Screammmmm who's underneath the tier 2 tower, taking a lot of damage up into the air. Went Mirage as well. He's ready to come crashing down. He does on the PolarBearMike, stuns him out. Now it's MandoWarrior who's trying to save Mirage, but he gets knocked up by Benji, who hits 3 members, Totally.
Oh, Venenu stunning out PainDeViande, finding the second kill onto Vigilant. eUnited have been looking so good this whole entire game. 16 minutes in with 9,000 gold lead. They're going to extend it here with this tier 1 tower in the mid lane.
eUnited have looked real clean here in this game so far, Totally. There's a good reason why they have not lost a game yet, and we're seeing why. Despite, I think, Vigilant having a strong draft and showing some of their flexibility, eUnited were not shaken. They've been in control, it feels like, the entire game. Is now only Mirage around to slow down this Portal Demon.
It's just a Ratatoskr, I think, honestly. Screammmmm has just been playing lights out. Mirage going to be in a lot of trouble here, getting locked down by PBM and Benji as the rest of eUnited securing another objective in the Portal Demon.
And Screammmmm in particular in a matchup against Thor, I think, is neutralizing all the things that Thor likes to do well, which is give you a sudden man advantage with that semi-global presence. Well, Ratatoskr kind of just negates that. Now I'm here too.
Sometimes you got to fight fire with fire. The global pressure from both of these gods is very impactful. But then, at the other hand, the stun from Screammmmm is going to stop the channeled Berserker Barrage from Mirage. Vigilant trying to do what they can to get back in this game, forcing the gold here, but PandaCat not going to let this go alongside Screammmmm.
DayToRemeber has to use the ultimate to get away. Screammmmm is just trying to get the bust now, as that was good enough for DayToRemeber to get out. But now the Gold Fury being started up again by eUnited. So despite maybe some parts of this matchup kind of favoring Vigilant, like picking Jing into that knockup from Anhur, it's gone heavily in their favor. Gold Fury now falls down in their favor. All tier 2 towers are available on the map for them to go take and further push out that gold lead, because it's only 18 minutes in, Totally.
eUnited are not trying to fall into the same fate that Obey have in their earlier set today. They are trying to go undefeated heading into their Sunday matchup. This will be a good transition here, trying to separate themselves away from Luminosity to secure that first seed.
And Vigilant need these points, Totally. Vigilant are in a position right now where they could still possibly take that 4th spot away from Trifecta. That's who's keeping them out of Super Regionals right now, because they're sitting in 5th place. It's tough going up against eUnited, but if they can get these points here, they have a chance to knock them back out.
It's a tight race, but Trifecta will be playing later today also, so that'll be an interesting matchup to see here. PBM trying to do what he can. MandoWarrior taking a lot of damage from Venenu.
And MandoWarrior, the only one who can try and keep members of eUnited away. He does eventually have to fall back, as PandaCat taking the boxing matchup against DayToRemeber, who's recognizing that maybe this isn't for him. Aegis already comes out, but PandaCat still has everything available. The pillar was perfect, the impale was better, as Akillathehun falls elsewhere on the map.
Gets soloed by Meerkat in the duel lane. DayToRemeber needs 35 seconds to respawn, and Akillathehun with 30 seconds, a 5-on-3 advantage for eUnited. They're not done yet, because Benji is keeping PainDeViande preoccupied, while the rest of his team is going for this tier 2 in mid.
MandoWarrior trying to zone them out, gets the stun off onto Cream to set up Mirage, but Mirage takes way too much damage in return. Good spin the win from PainDeViande to at least slow down some of the aggression, but PandaCat is too much for Mirage.
So many stuns from eUnited, just no possible survival from Vigilant. Only Pain, the general, stands strong. Tier 2 now falling for Vigilant. eUnited over that 10,000 gold marker, actually 15,000 ahead, not even 20 minutes in.
And this is, like you said, this is very early in the game still, 19:30. We see a lot of our games go like 32, 33 minutes nowadays, but that is not going to be the case here, as eUnited are going to take down the Fire Giant before the 20-minute marker. There's a mid-Phoenix that's already exposed and ready for them to go back to base, heal up, and come back and try and push it down.
And then another 3,000 gold available between these tier 2 towers, both left and right for eUnited. They've been just on fire. Vigilant cannot stop this undefeated North American squad.
And no one's been able to so far. So it's not a knock against you, Vigilant. eUnited just look real good right now. I am pumped. And Vigilant actually throw in the towel here. That's going to be the F6. They recognize that they're not going to be able to pull this one back totally. Let's go to game 2.
I respect this play from Vigilant, honestly. It's only game number 1 in the 2 game sets. Sometimes you just got to sweep it under the rug, come into game number 2 with a clear mind and a good mindset, maybe trying to figure out what went wrong. Was it picks and bans? Was it the actual gameplay? Something needs to change if Vigilant wants to come away with a split trying to avoid relegations.
And they really do need these points. As you said, it's not just making it to Super Regionals, but if you're 7th or 8th, then you won't even be in the Pro League next year. You'd be relegated out. So they need to be able to hold on to that spot they have right now. And we'll see.